Danny,
pretty much,
pause that for 1 second. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm a bot. I'm gonna make you ask. I'm gonna have you start that answer over again
No worries, no
because
worries.
I trolled. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long time. In fact, the last time we had an episode of Vandals, Cloud9 looked like they were going to go to global events. MCE was still their coach. Zelsis was still wearing the blue. It's been a long time, but Vandals is back. And who better to have as a guest than none other, inaugural VCT America's winning coach, fRoD. Danny, baby, how you feeling? Talk to me about your day.
Doing good, man. Just getting my day started here in Brazil. Got my coffee. Actually, got a Monster energy drink here too. So, just kind of getting ready for the day of practice.
You're a gamer, bro. You're a gamer through and through. Those bad
Absolutely.
habits don't die hard. Or they do die hard, excuse me. Talk to me about
Yeah.
your boot camping out in Brazil?
Yeah. So since I recently joined MIBR, we
Congratulations,
did.
by the way.
Thank you. We decided to have a little boot camp here in Sao Paulo. MIBR has a fantastic office here. Can house several of their teams. Really cool facility with a lot
Mm,
of things to do here. So basically, it was probably the perfect opportunity for me to come on down, meet the players, meet the staff in person, spend some time with them. So I think we're
yeah.
gonna be boot camping probably for a month total. So like
Okay.
mid-October till mid-November, and then might take a little siesta for the holiday season.
Mm,
Nothing. We're obviously going to practice a little bit, but we're taking advantage of this time prior to the holidays and prior to us having to head out to LA, probably around early January, to just really, build the base of the team tactically, compositions, but more importantly, get to know each other as people and spend some time with each other.
yeah, for sure. Are you going to be staying around for Game Changers Champs? That's there at the end of the month, actually, at the end of November.
I don't know. I think I'll be back around the 19th or 20th. So,
Oh,
I
you'll
think
probably
I'll be,
just miss it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm just gonna miss it because I'm gonna be home for like Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So
Sure.
I would love to be back and maybe participate in that somehow. But logistically, it doesn't seem like it's gonna happen right now. But yeah, would have been nice.
Sure. All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes, man. I haven't really had a chance to talk to you, and yeah, I feel like our paths have crossed a lot over the last really over the last 3 years since Valorant came out. But I haven't really had a chance to pick your brain, so I want to take you. I say all the way to the beginning, but it's really not. It's just all the way to the beginning of last year, right?
Yeah.
2020, yeah, 2023, the end of this year. Holy smokes, it's this
It's
year.
it's not even over yet.
All right. Beginning of 2023. VCT Americas is starting. Loud is coming off of a champs win. And then the news comes out. They've signed fRoD to be their head coach. It's crazy to think it was only a year. It feels like it's been way longer. What give me one word that you would use to describe your run with Loud over this last year.
That's success.
Mm.
Yeah, I think honestly it was a success for all of us. New team, bunch of rookies, new
Yeah,
coach,
some
really
kids.
speak the language. I think our community obviously had expectations for us to do well just because of the champs stuff and the champs core stayed on the team.
Sure.
But every team has their difficulties. Bringing in new players, new coach, new ideologies, and stuff like that is never really easy. So honestly, I think from day one till the last day, I think we can call it a success simply because we started off strong. We finished the year pretty strong as well. Obviously, we would like to have one champs, but
Mm.
I think top three performance given everything that had happened throughout the year. Our bombing out in Tokyo. I think for us, it was overall a success.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the couple of things. We're going to talk about Tokyo. We're going to talk about champs. But you said something just now that I want to press you a little bit more on because oftentimes we'll see different approaches when it comes to building a roster, right? You can either go the superstar approach where you're just getting as many like big name fraggers, big players doing their own thing. Then you have other teams who take the approach of strengthening a core, right? Like in keeping a core and that being the basis that you build upon. In your opinion, as somebody who's been around esports for a long time, you're an OG, right? We'll call it what it is. You've been around a while. You've seen some stuff. You've learned a lot.
A lot of gray hair.
What's your take on that different philosophical approach?
I've kind of always said this a little bit. Just my opinion, I think
Yeah.
experience is kind of overrated, unless you're maybe an IGL and a coach. I think everyone else around the team, you can kind of give them that injection of confidence and experience.
Mm,
Obviously, I think experience is vital for the people on the coaching staff, people on the leadership side, like IGLs, secondary callers, stuff like that. But when it comes to some of these like new young players and the way things are, man, there's always that new young up and coming talent that you just got to guide them in the right direction. I think that's exactly who I was as well. You know, I started off my career super young. I was that 15, 16-year-old hotshot that came out, and I needed that direction. I had all
mm,
the talent in the world, but I needed people around me that had experience that could kind of show me the way. So um, I think that for me, like I said, I think experience is a hair bit overrated just because
mm.
um, it doesn't necessarily need to be fully embodied by every single soul on the team. I think it's more important. The leadership side is the one that are experienced, can guide the young guys and those kids with like amazing talent. They just need the right direction. So I think that that's the most important thing.
Which you had plenty of opportunities to do so, right? Again, we mentioned you start off on Loud earlier this year. You've got a lot of young talent. You've got roster changes. You're coming off of a champs win. Honestly, I want to go through the year, really, that you had at Loud, and then we're going to talk about how things are going over it with MIBR, and then we're going to talk about Valorant stuff as well. But I want to go back to the beginning because, again, you have all of these different circumstances that are piling up, right? You've got expectations, which fair, not fair, in different whatever. You have a lot of expectations. You've got, again, roster changes. You've got a lot of youth, and you're stepping into what is the craziest tournament format we've ever had, right? At lock-in, you got single elimination, freaking do or die. You've got to win, and you've got to win now. You have an outrageous run. You get all the way to the finals, and I got to lean in on Icebox a little bit here, right? You're up 11-3. Series is tied. Game 5. And then there's a brutal collapse, right? That takes place on Icebox. You guys end up losing the map. You lose the tournament. But, dude, you guys start the year so strong, right? Again, given all of those circumstances, given everything that was going on, that's an outrageous start to kick off the year, no?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, I even Sadak has publicly said many times, I don't even think he expected us to beat Genji.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
I think for us, we kind of had a different mindset because I saw early on in our practices that this team had like ridiculous skill ceiling and
Mm,
a lot of potential. And once we started kind of figuring out different ways of playing, once I started, coming up with some of these compositions and tweaking some of the compositions to kind of suit some of the players, I think these guys started to really shine. So I think I went into lock in with the mindset of like top eight, top four kind of thing, like
mm,
maybe one step away from the final stage or something like that. So for us, it was amazing. The icebox is something that will probably stay with us forever because it's something like I kind of told the boys too. I took a fat L before I won my first major. So
mm,
and I got wiped out in the grand finals. I think we beat a bunch of teams along the way. It was like CPL Spain or something like that, like 2004, 2005. And we got murdered in the grand finals. And after that, we bounced back and won our first major in 2005 ESWC. So for me, it was kind of like we got to take this experience. It's gonna hurt, but we have to learn from it. We have to learn about like the micro, because for
mm,
us, I think we felt like the macro was good, like our tactically compositions. I think we kind of started off the year super strong with the way that we were approaching the game, the meta, the strategies, everything like that.
mm,
But obviously, with the new young team, there was so many little details that we had to get fine tuned. None of these guys really had that kind of FPS or Counter Strike experience in the past. So a lot of those like fundamentals that are very vital to team success, like I think one of the main reasons why NRG, Optic, those guys were so successful is they had
right.
such deep-rooted fundamentals in gaming, that those are some of the things that we just lack due to age and inexperience. And
Mm,
I felt like that was a really big learning experience for us to be able to not only understand that we have the talent to get us very far, but if we don't work on some of the micro, we're never gonna, win the tournament. And we all compete to win. We don't compete to come in second place.
right.
And I think for us, it was probably more of a devastating type feeling because it was a
Mm.
local tournament in a sense for us. We had
Oh,
family in the
yeah.
stands,
Dude,
stuff
it
like
was
that.
home
So
field advantage. I
yeah,
forgot about that.
yeah, everyone was rooting for us.
Mm.
Every time like even the other Brazilian teams would play, you see all the fans in the loud jerseys and everything. So for us, it was one of those experiences that it was amazing. And me, I'm not local Brazilian, but joining a Brazilian team, it just felt like completely different. And it was an amazing experience for all of us. Obviously, like I said, it really stung in the way that it happened, but we almost would have gotten 3-0'd, right? So I think for us, we kind of took it as better to lose this way, even though it was devastating than getting 3-0'd and feeling like we let
Yeah,
our fan base
sure.
down to not even show up for the grand finals, even though we maybe thought that it was going to be difficult to make it to this point. Um, getting 3-0'd is never any fun. So
Right,
I think taking a huge comeback like that is fine because at the end of the day, Fnatic's a fantastic team. They're not going to give up.
right.
They ended up having one of the best years of any Valorant team. So it is what it is, and that really showed us a lot to kind of take us off, like look at the mirror that we understand we're on the right direction,
Mm.
but there's still a lot of stuff that we got to improve on.
Well, I mean, I think, again, for as devastating of a loss as it is, I think you're right. You walk away from something like that a little bit more grizzly, a little bit more mature, a little bit more hardened, which, again, was something really important given the youth that you guys had on your roster, things like that. So you walk away from that ultimately with high hopes and a lot of takeaways, as bitter as it may have been. But you turn your attention over to Americas. You guys start the season in freaking outrageous fashion. That was the birth of the Harbor Viper comps. If I'm not mistaken, that was the first time we saw that. I don't think we saw it at Lock-In. Correct me if
No,
I'm
yeah,
wrong, though.
we busted it out at lock-in a little
Okay.
bit. We just we played Pearl a couple times at lock-in, so that's really where we kind of
Yeah,
brought it
yeah, yeah.
out. DRX ended up copying us, but they only
Mm-hmm.
had a couple days of practice, so I think that they didn't really understand the full strength of the compo. We had pretty much spent the whole entire preseason really fine-tuning those details.
How important was it, again, given the way that Lock-In played out, how important was it for that team to play as well as they did in Americas to ultimately beat NRG in the grand finals, which, again, congratulations, outrageous series. That was so much fun to cast. How important was that for your team, for the youth on that roster, for you even as a new player, as a new coach on the organization?
I think the way that we started off in the victories and stuff, I think it really was just like another day in the office for guys like Sadak, Les, and Aspas who were used to just winning and being a part of the core that brought this kind of success to Brazil and Loud.
Sure.
I think it meant a lot more for guys like me, Kawang, and Tuis, just because we were the new guys on the block. I
Mm.
was gonna say new kids, but I'm definitely not a kid. Um, but Kawang was like hard stuck second place. I think pretty much every single regional tournament he was a part of, he was second place to Loud every single time. So for him, it kind of felt like I'm here. I'm finally getting over the hump. I'm winning stuff.
Mm.
So I think for him that was amazing. Someone like Tuis, he was competitive in the scene in the local tier 2 and stuff like that, but he never really got a chance to break through, and he had a new role and everything. So I think that was more validation for him that he
Sure.
was able to, you know, fill shoes as someone that's very successful like Pancada, but also come in with a different role and prove to the world that he's able to switch roles and become a good player. And then for someone like me, I was a part of that team from Champs in 2022, but just more of an analyst, providing all the tactical and things like tacticals, pistols, game plans, anti-strats, all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But I wasn't there. I wasn't really like that much announced in a way, even though I got my credit from the boys and everything.
Right.
But it was more of like if I'm the head coach, I want to bring trophies and success to Brazil. I hadn't really had an opportunity to do that yet as a coach. As
Mm.
a player, I've had a successful career and brought a lot of trophies, but for me that's a long time ago. I've been wanting to
Mm-hmm.
transition and bring that success to myself on the coaching side of things because like I said, I'm not going pro anytime soon. So for me, like being a coach, I wanted to show people, I took a lot of inspiration from guys like Zonic that, they probably had a better coaching career than they did as a playing career. So
Mm.
my goals have been to top my playing career via my coaching career. So being part of an organization, bringing them a trophy, I think it felt amazing. And just having like the whole entire Brazilian crowd behind me and kind of appreciative of all the stuff that we were doing. I think that that meant so much to all of us because, like I said, we were the new guys on the team.
Yeah.
We had a lot to prove to ourselves, but also to the world, and I think that that helped all of us like feel a lot better. Obviously, knowing that one of my things I always wanted to make sure the guys understood like whatever success we had is short-term memory. Like, okay, we won Americas, boom, forget about that. We have the next thing
Mm.
coming up. So I think it's very important to kind of have that short-term memory with your successes. But at the same time, there you should always take a moment to step back and be like, damn, like we did good here.
Yeah. I mean, especially inaugural year. Let me try that again. Inaugural year, right? Very first time this league is put together. All eyes on America's and an outrageous performance. I think you touched on something too that I think is really important is given what we're going to talk about next, having short-term memory in your successes. Because I often think of the phrase happy but hungry, right? Like you can be happy, you can be
Yeah.
satisfied with what your win is, but hungry about what's next, continuing to push forward. Danny, what came for you guys after that wasn't pretty, right? After you guys
Yeah.
win Americas, you head to Tokyo, and very well documented. You guys go 0-2. You move away from a lot of what was working for you guys in the past, namely the Harbor Viper comps, things of that nature. Again, you and I haven't really had a chance to talk about this, so I know I may be digging up some old wounds, so to speak. But
Some traumas.
yeah, man, I got to take us back there. What happened? What happened in Tokyo?
Yeah, I mean, without going into too much detail, I mean, I wasn't really a fan of a lot of the composition changes that were going on, but at the same time, I'm part of the squad, so it was my job to really help guide us through some of these changes that the guys wanted to make.
Mm,
Maybe more based on comfort, maybe more on what we perceived as metas being changed a little bit, but I really wasn't too on board with it because I think the reason why comps like Harbor Viper really became strong is not only those agents came out in the year like Harbor, but I think when you saw like that big wave of initiator nerfs before the
mm,
season started,
mm.
I think it really kind of shifted the meta over to like the controller side of things. And to be honest, I didn't really feel like there was any drastic updates throughout the season that warranted for us to really move away from those things.
Sure.
Um, and also, we play a lot of local competition. Like, I think that the teams that are probably more prepared to play against Harbor Viper are the teams in Brazil and Americas, only
Yeah,
because they got to
absolutely.
practice against us all the time. But
Right.
once we went over to international competition and we had to play against European teams and Asian teams, there's really not that many teams that play those kind of comps. So I really felt like those kind of comps were going to be what dominated an international competition.
Mm-hmm.
But we guys wanted to make some changes, and
Mm.
had really nothing like for us. I think our practice was not really that good that week, and that really had nothing to do with us per se, and not trying to say anything. Like I think it was kind of public knowledge that the practice rooms were good, just the internet was not that good, so
Right.
we weren't able, like, I no one was able to get good practice in
Mm-hmm.
Tokyo. So I think it was just really bad timing for us to consider some of these changes, and it kind of really hit us in the face, kind of realizing that,
Mm.
this is probably not the right moment to really be considering these things, considering like we can't even really practice and theory craft and test them out.
Right. Right.
Harbor Viper, we spent months and months and months. We weren't even implementing Sky, to be honest with you. I started realizing that with these double walls, like what's Sova gonna do? Like his recon
Yeah.
dart's gonna get nullified by the walls so much. Just like Breach, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you put a properly placed wall on the map, Breach's flashes won't even go through the wall, right?
Right.
So I think that's when I started realizing, like analyzing the weaknesses of the comp, and the weaknesses of that comp are like the popping through it. So
Mm.
really, agents like KO and Sky could really shine through there, and the one that can get probably more consistent and good information is someone like Sky to kind of replace Sova, who had been getting like minor nerfs the whole time. So
Right.
I think for us, yeah, we just probably needed to practice. We were a team that we practiced a ton,
Mm.
and we were making a lot of minor adaptations as practice kept on, and we just didn't really have the opportunity. I think our timing was really bad. We only had a few weeks between Americas and Tokyo, so we just really had no time to really theory craft and go through the fire with whatever we were potentially testing.
Yeah, and so to be clear, I'm gonna nerd out here a little bit, dude. I'm a sucker for the Harbor Viper comps. I
Me too.
love
Me too.
them, dude. I think they're so nerdy. I love casting them. Um,
I
we've
give you a little background how it came about.
Please do. We were
Yeah.
running them in Premiere, so I'm
Yeah, yeah.
big fan.
Yeah, so when Harbor came out,
Mm,
Sadak is always one of these guys that he just dives right into wanting to understand and learn these new agents. So
mm,
big credit to him as far as like always wanting to kind of change and innovate the meta a little bit. So he pretty much said, "Hey, fRoD, like see what kind of value this guy could bring." And since I joined the team and I wanted to build some relationship with the boys, I started playing ranked Q. I think I got to like Immortal 2 with 120 ping from
pop
Miami
off,
here in the
son.
Brazil servers. So me and Tuis, we were going into maps like Fracture and stuff like that, and we just
Mm,
always said, let's just you play Viper, I'll try Harbor, you try Harbor, I'll play like Viper, stuff like that. And
mm-hmm,
the reason why I realized is because you could put that wall down generator and on A
mm-hmm,
or on B, I'm sorry, and you could just kind of cut off half the map. So like we started realizing, like Viper can bring up the wall, put it down, bring it up, put it down, like automatically that kind of brings more value than maybe like one set of brim smokes that if
Sure.
properly delayed, you're exposed the rest of the round. And then we just said, oh shit, like what if we just put the Viper up? When the Viper's down, we throw the Harbor one. We're like, man, we got walls for days here. Like we could actually really shut down like two areas for a good like 50, 60 seconds without even sweating versus brim. So I think just me and Thuis and I was like really, really practicing, like just nerding out and ranked a lot with these kind of things and realizing some of the strengths of it. And we realized like Harbor Viper is a perfect duo if you want to keep some things. And these are some of the concepts that I talked about CS. Like when you
Mm-hmm.
look at agents like Brim and Omen, like you got like four smokes. That's all you got.
Right.
So imagine it's like you're basically playing like a dumbed down version of Counter Strike because in Counter Strike you at least have the five.
Right.
If you really think about like the wall of Viper, like going up and then going down, covering two spots, you could do that three or four times. That's six locations covered in one round, vis-a-vis four or five from Brim. Then
Sure.
you add Harbor, who can supplement the same thing. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at 12, 14 spots covered throughout the duration of a round, rather than again four or five. So if you have areas that are like locked down in vision for such drastic periods of time, you know uh, like it's just really it basically supplements smokes completely.
Mm.
Obviously you can be more precise and more situational with omen smokes and brim
Right. Of
smokes,
course.
but if you understand kind of how to play certain maps and you play it accordingly, I think that you understand like some of the things that Viper and Harbor could do. um, so for me it was really just about getting dirty and just figuring out like what value this can do. And then once we started, we came in with the mindset of like, damn, if this can work on Fracture, what else can it work on?
Yeah.
Then it just really started like going into custom games, figuring out like what kind of crazy movement of walls we can do, like ones on Haven that you can cover like B double doors at the same
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
If you can cover B and double doors, like there's no agent that could do that. And if you do
Right.
it with Omen or Brim, you're pretty much wasting all your smokes just to put a little bit of pressure. So we kind of realized that we could really make some magic with this happen. And then it just slowly came about like editing some of the players agents to kind of suit that a little bit stronger. Like
Mm.
Gawang was an amazing Sova, but we realized like Sova is not going to really have that much power in this
Mm-hmm.
comp because of things like the recon dart, the drone, stuff like that. So yeah, it just slowly started evolving and really threw a lot of ranked play with insanely high ping and just trying to figure out like, damn, this is actually pretty sweet.
Dude, the freaking one of the most innovative comps in all of 2023 was birthed and molded in the doldrums and dungeons of high ping ranked from Miami to Brazilian servers.
Yep, yep,
That's
yep.
outrageous.
Yeah, yeah. With just like Sadak wanting to really just test some ideas, me always being down to test, and I think we like that's the only way you really figure it out, man. Like you can't
Yeah.
just solely play practice, and you can't just solely sit on like Valo plant and draw stuff up. You really got to get in there, and if you know that you can dominate rank when everyone's kind of trolling, then you know you're onto something.
Let's head back to Tokyo and to your year, because again we were talking about it a little bit. You guys go 0-2. There was a lot going on, and honestly, for the fan base, for the community, I mean, alarms were ringing, and the alarms only get worse. But before we get there, I think there were a lot of conversations about what was going on. Obviously, we talked about, and it was very well documented, the prac conditions weren't the best. There were also a lot of talks about internal issues. Aspas might be leaving. Is he checked out? What's going on? In your opinion, having been on the inside, how much of that actually had an impact on the situation compared to what you were talking about earlier, regarding comps and making maybe making changes in short time leading into Tokyo, things like that.
I don't think it really played much of a factor. I think some of these rumors that were going out there were a little bit, they were kind of reaching.
Mm.
Aspas was always great with the team, friendly with the team, always like around us and stuff like that. No issues with the team. I heard like one of the rumors like him and Les fought. They never fought. Like
Mm.
the relationships when it came to the group of men that were on the team
Mm-hmm.
was perfectly fine. Maybe if there was some external issues or issues that were just going on in general, um, things like that can happen. But
Sure.
when it came to things within the team, it had no issue. We had no issue. Sadak was fantastic about basically saying, "Look, guys, you know, um, NA is a region that really lives with the drama and stuff like that. We're not going
Which
to
is true.
partake in any. Yeah, yeah. So we're like, look, we're not going to partake into any of that. We're not going to get baited into any of that.
Mm,
Any single time that something comes up, we're going to use this as motivation to improve ourselves. So, even though we didn't like the stuff that came out because a lot of it was false, um, for us, we used it as motivation to kind of keep in house and be like, look, guys, look what the people are saying about us. They want us to die. We're going to prove to them that we're a stronger team than what people think about us. And we pretty much use that as motivation to not resolve any issues because there weren't any issues internally,
right.
but kind of be like, guys, they just don't know what we're like. They don't know how we are. They don't know the vibes that we have in the team.
Hmm.
So, like I said, every team, people in general, we all go through stuff and we have our issues, but it's all about how you resolve it.
Sure.
I think a lot of the things that were said out there were completely blown out of proportion, made up, to be honest, fabricated because it wasn't even true.
Mm,
But either way, we obviously knew it was false in house, and we just pretty much um, focus on the game, focus on winning. And obviously, not every team can win all the time as much as you want to say you want to and focus
right.
on it.
Right.
But that's exactly what we did. We just pretty much, watched some of these videos and addressed these things. And it wasn't like addressing it to fix the problem. It was more of addressing it to be like, look what the public thinks about us. They think we're done.
Mm,
Let's just show them, like we're here for play. And plus, like, having an underdog mentality is always very good for any team.
sure.
So I think that we started off very strong from champs, from a kickoff, or from lock-in to
Hmm.
Americas. I think people were like highly rating us to win everything, and I think
Sure.
for us it was kind of good for us to go back to that underdog mentality because people thought we were like a dead team. So
Mm,
I think for us it was really good to have like some of that public perception changed, just so we can kind of refocus on ourselves and no, no real issues like that.
yeah. Now, so you guys bow out of Tokyo uh, with a whimper, right? You head to champs. That's what's next, and you start champs with another loss. So at that point, you had lost 3 series in a row. Be honest with me. What was your level of concern?
To be honest, I mean, it wasn't that bad
Mm,
because DRX is the group stage demons, so it's
yeah,
kind of
that's
like
true.
they're impossible to beat when it comes to group stage. Like if you get them in a bracket, they're different,
Yeah.
and not like in a I'm talking crap kind of way. It's just everyone knows that
No,
these
yeah,
guys
yeah,
don't
yeah.
drop out of groups. So we played against them. They came out on fire. I think we had a good game. We just maybe overcooked on some stuff.
Mm,
Again, but the reason why I was really confident is because I think that one of the main themes of one of the things I was trying to teach the Loud guys, the Loud core and the new team is kind of how to play against this European teams, like these super structured, slow, defaulty type of teams.
mm-hmm.
And I think that just from us being able to play against teams like Leviathan of the old and stuff like that and being able to dominate them,
Mm,
I think we kind of fully understood what it was like to play against these type of teams. So for me, I was like, all right, like we spent all year understanding what it's like to play against this style of play, how to beat this style of play. And we just got to beat these two teams that have that exact style of play that we've been basically preparing our whole entire like year for.
right.
Um, so I was very confident. Obviously, I know that a lot of people were kind of figuring, oh shit, they're gonna just go 0-4 and just
Yeah.
finish the year off in a bad form. But
Mm,
you know, we knew that the practice that we were having, at least when we got back from Tokyo, was very strong. We really started refocusing a lot on the fundamentals of the game. I think maybe that's also why that, you know, some of the guys wanted to cook a little bit when it came to the comps because we were really focusing on the um the fundamentals of the team, which was improving, day by day, insane.
mm-hmm.
Um, but we also realized, I think, throughout the way that the tournament went, that it was probably best for us to kind of stick to like doing a little bit of both, like
Sure.
maintain the comps that were dominant, but also, implement this new style of like thinking and stuff like that. So for me, I was very confident just knowing that, who we were up against. And it's no disrespect to them. Navi and Liquid are a fantastic team. We just had like such good lectura, like the readings of the team.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, honestly, sometimes like for me, like I just randomly say Portuguese words or Spanish words
Oh,
because
I
it,
respect it.
it's
That's awesome.
the thing is, it's just there's so many like one word responses to things
Yeah.
that it means so much. You know how it is. You speak
Uh-huh.
Spanish,
Uh-huh.
so
Uh-huh.
it's like, man, in English we just gotta like explain everything.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
man,
yeah,
let's
yeah.
just cut it to one word. But yeah, like I think our read on the teams and just the way that we were gonna play, the way that we were playing. the way we wanted to adapt to how those kind of teams played, we were very, very confident. And Navi ended up probably being one of our most difficult matches throughout the whole entire year because they're
Bro.
insanely talented and they're just never going to give up. But once we knew that we came back and won that game, then it was kind of like, all right, we're here to play now, finally. And we got the monkey off our back. It was finally like, we've won a game, you
Yeah,
know?
exhale.
And, yeah, it had been like 3 months, right? Because there was
Yeah.
like a couple breaks in between. So we're like, damn, bro, we hadn't tasted the taste of victory since Americas. That was like in late May or something like that. We're here like in almost August, you know? So I was like, damn, it's been
Y'all
a
got to get a
minute.
dub, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, that whole group, that group D, you know, they came out, everyone, oh, it's a group of death, and then, well, actually, it might be the group of disappointment, right? Like maybe these teams aren't as good as they're supposed to be. That was that final match to get out of groups. I kid you not, dude. That might be my favorite match I've ever casted. It was such a freaking banger. The crowd was nuts. The stakes were outrageously high. There was so much like history and like pedigree and like winning DNA and so many expectations for both of those squads. Easily, yeah, that very well might be my favorite match I've ever casted before. That was so much fun.
I think that a lot of the players would agree too. I think Sadek said that was like the most mentally draining game. I mean, playing against teams like Optic and NRG was always like a mental drain for him because
Yeah.
there was so much adaptions on adaptions on adaptions. But when it came to every little bit of detail, when it came to the Navi game, that was probably one of our most difficult games, just mentally and physically and all that. So it was one of those feelings that it was amazing to overcome, and we knew like if we could win this kind of game, like we knew we're for real.
Yeah, and y'all were back. And honestly, it led to a top 3 finish, right? Like you guys second at lock-in, excuse me, first in Americas, 7th, 8th, top 8 at Tokyo, and then third at Champs. That's a pretty freaking good year, bro. All things considered, with a new head coach, with a bunch of adolescents on your squad, with an IGL who's trying to manage all of that as well. I got to ask you this, though, because as we now know, your time on Loud has come to an end. What would you say, I'm going to get a little introspective here, what would you say is your biggest regret on your time with Loud, if anything comes to mind?
Good question. I mean, I'm the kind of guy, I don't, obviously, for me, I did not want to depart and stuff like that. So, you could maybe sit back and think about things I could have done a little different to maybe retain my position. But I'm a person that doesn't really live with regret. Everything happens for a reason. If I did something or said something and whatever changed my future outcome or whatever, then it is what it is. I don't live with regret. I absolutely love my time there. The organization treated me amazing. The fan treated me amazing. The players were amazing. I think I'm Hispanic, and
Mm-hmm.
being a part of this kind of culture too, I just realized there's so many similarities, and just absolutely love being a part of the Brazilian culture. Been a huge fan of it forever because I've known guys like Kogu, FNX, Nax, all these guys for God, 18, almost 20 years now. So always been a fan. Always loved it, and just the way that those guys vibe out and stuff for me was amazing. So no, I wouldn't say anything with regret. I mean, obviously, I would have liked to have not really gone through some of these like composition changes as much, but it really wasn't things that I was wanting to do anyways. I just really maybe wish I was a little bit more strong on some of these things, and I eventually was, but I was hoping, maybe I would have just maintained that kind of strength to you know, not really cook like that because I wasn't really a big fan of it. But I understand that in order to innovate, you do have to cook.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of these things that I can't be a hypocrite and say like I'm not down to test because at the end of the day we started off the year testing like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of these things that maybe the timing was just bad. The fact that our practice was not that great in Tokyo because of, not because of us, of course. And then there's just only a few weeks of time in between these kind of tournaments. It's really not enough time to really like deep dive into what we want
Right.
to do. So maybe just be a little bit more firm on that and just let them know like we had a great year with what we were doing. Let's just stick to what we're doing and try and evolve on it rather than thinking that evolution comes from changing compositions. Evolution should come from within into how we approach the game, how we play our agents, rather than changing comps in hopes that provides some sort of different solution.
Mm. You'll take those learnings, and again, congratulations. You've moved over to a new org, MIBR, a second Brazilian org, which then leads me to this. How is your Portuguese, by the way? Because that's now twice. I know you speak Spanish. Obviously, you were doing you had worked with a lot of English speaking orgs. You've now moved over to your second Brazilian org. Yeah, how is your Portuguese, man?
I mean, I would say it's pretty good. The reason why I know is because sometimes when I get mad and I have to like tell a player something, I know how to curse,
It
and I
comes out
also know how to.
naturally, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And then I also, when I play ranked, I just start raging in Portuguese. I talk to people on airplanes. I talk to the cleaning ladies that come by and stuff. And I always ask, like, ¿Da para entender? And they're like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
everything is
we
good to
got
go.
you.
So for me, it's like, I think it's coming along,
Mm,
especially for someone who's only been speaking the language for less than a year.
yeah.
And learning through the streets, basically, learning
Uh
all
huh.
like the slang and all the funny words and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah. I can make people laugh. I can hold conversations with random people, and I can curse people out. So I think I'm pretty good at the language.
Yeah, you've hit all three. You hit all the big
Yeah,
boxes.
yeah.
How did
Exactly.
how did you end up on MIBR?
Well, basically, me and Bazooka have been really good friends for quite some time.
Mm,
Just professional friends, guys that we've had a lot of respect for each other. When I was doing some management work for FaZe and stuff like that, long time ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, he was still a semi-pro CS player. Him and his team with like Kogu and all those guys were living in West Palm Beach, which was pretty close to where I live.
mm,
So I would just go over there, spend some time with them, kind of give them some advice, and kind of be like a quasi coach friend,
sure.
just hanging out and being, with the guys. And we always had a great relationship. And once Bazooka gave me a call to see if I wanted to help out for Loud at Champs, um, we obviously had a lot of success there. I
Mm,
think that they really enjoyed my tactics, my game plans, everything. It brought them a lot of success, and they accredit a lot of their success at Champs due to that. Um, the goal was to continue working together. Obviously, Loud had a different plan in mind and
mm-hmm.
offered me the position as head coach. But if Loud did not offer me that position, I would have gone over to MIBR anyways with Bazooka, because
Huh.
that's something that they were already after me for at that point. So
Mm,
I guess I would have been on a Brazilian org no matter what,
mm-hmm.
anyways, basically. So, yeah, once I kind of told Bazooka, man, you understand, man, I can't turn down a head coaching opportunity, especially from an organization like Loud. So,
Yeah, of course.
I'm really, really sorry. I hope it doesn't offend you that it was your former position too. But
Mm,
as a friend and a professional friend and someone that we've known each other for, he's like, yeah, I completely understand. You're gonna kill it. Go over there, and things don't work out. You got a place with me, and that was something that I know that he wanted to really fortify his coaching staff. And once kind of some rumors started coming out, he just basically hit me up and said, that you got a home here. So
mm,
once some of my fate got determined, I just instantly went over. Didn't even really bother to listen to any other opportunities or try and put myself out in the market. Just pretty much dove head first because,
mm.
like I said, I fit in with the culture. Um, Not saying that I would not want to be a part of a North American or APAC or European team, but
Sure.
being part of Hispanic like type of team, like
Mm-hmm.
for me,
Mm-hmm.
is such a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Just from my upbringing, my culture, being from Miami, living in a predominantly Hispanic area. Most of my family doesn't even speak English, so I think for me it was one of these situations that it's just a perfect fit.
Mm.
And since a goal of mine was always to be trilingual, I figured, I got to keep practicing at this because I want to keep learning this language. I love the culture, love the food. I mean, the food is the same, like rice, beans,
It's
meat,
so freaking
chicken.
good,
Like
bro.
it's amazing. Like I honestly, fr- I think Brazilian food is probably one of the best. And the best part is that you get like they got all kinds of different foods here too.
Yeah.
Like Asian food, Italian food, everything. So yeah, I just wanted to be part of another organization that
Mm.
I could vibe out really well, just culture wise, and we see things from the same lens. And yeah, just really, really happy about that.
Now, I got to ask you this, though, because again, to be candid, you're moving from an org that was fighting for hardware, that had already won a global championship, that was pushing for the top, to an org that admittedly struggled a lot. Their only real note of success in 2023 was the infamous Chosen Knife, which obviously changed the course of Valorant as we know it. But I think the how is good, and I just want to make sure I fully understand the why, right? Because to go from that, from Loud to MIBR, given the year that they had, seems like a very curious decision. Are you saying it's primarily because of Bazooka and the relationship that you have with him?
I'll give you two reasons.
Mm.
The first one is the best one. I got kicked. So like what else am I gonna do, right? Like if they don't want me, what else am I gonna do? You're not gonna force my way in there. The other thing too is like MIBR is also very historic organization.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
Loud is massive, huge fan base and stuff like that. But to maybe discredit MIBR, I'm not saying that you did or anyone else has, but
Right, no.
I'm just saying like you have to understand that these guys won ESWC in 2006, which was the year after I won ESWC in 2005. MIBR is an absolutely legendary organization.
Mm.
They've been around the block for a long, long time. They have great history, a lot of fantastic players that have been a part of this organization that are still part of it. So for me, I have always wanted to join MIBR because that was the only Brazilian org back in the day that I felt like was top notch.
Sure.
Obviously Loud came about. Me being that ignorant American, I had no idea who Loud was or what Loud was until like they started really making a huge name for themselves in
Mm.
Valorant, and I was like, oh crap! Like these are one of these like new organizations taking social media by storm,
Yeah.
dominating the industry, and I get that, and I huge respect to that. I think Loud is
Mm.
amazing when it comes to all that stuff. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
everyone could learn so much from that. But one thing that I think MIBR has is that like longevity and that legacy that they have.
Yeah.
And for me, being a guy who basically competed and played against these guys from their existence, I think MIBR was established in 2003. I was a professional player since 2002, so we pretty much have like the same kind of tenure in the industry. And I think that they've evolved a lot over time, and I've also evolved a lot over time. I'm not, I know I didn't come into, I'm not who I am now is not who I was a year ago or even 20 years
Of
ago.
course,
So
of course.
I think we've all evolved a lot, and it's only made sense. And like I said, with all the relationships and friendships I've had, it's for me, it's always been a goal to kind of have this tag by my name and be a part of
Mm.
such a grand and legendary organization like MIBR.
Well, it feels like a homecoming in a sense, right? Given the history that you guys have. They're also an outrageously generous org, mind you. We were in Sao Paulo for lock-in earlier this year, and a guy whose name I regrettably don't remember right now walks in with this huge stack. Dude, the talent team for lock-in was pretty big. Huge stack. Unfortunately, I don't have all the stuff right now of these really cool boxes with a bunch of MIBR just like merch and gear and stuff like that was just really freaking incredible. For other orgs that are listening, if you just want to send me more stuff, please, by all means,
Yeah,
you have
send
full
out the
permission
swag to Doug.
to. Yeah. Talk to me about the roster because again, you find yourself in a spot with some youth, with some adolescents.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just based on the timelines. It's kind of
Mm.
obvious that I joined after the kind of team was formed,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't really have like an insane amount of opinion as to like the players that were here and stuff like that. But to be honest, these guys got amazing talent.
Mm.
I think that people are going to be very shocked about how good Archazine is. He was a duelist, and then I think his previous team they had him playing Sova. So he kind of played a different role, but now he's back to his natural role. I think uh, I think people are going to be very shocked at how talented this kid is. And just me being a former opper my whole career and the way that I've been able to help guys like Aspas kind of evolve his game.
Mm.
My goal is to do the same exact thing for Archazine. Um, and then Mazin was someone that this guy was like basically a crossfire professional and like a champion and stuff like that ever since he was like 15, 16 years old. He played alongside Pancada,
Mm.
my assistant coach at Loud STK. Like these were guys that basically dominated the crossfire scene on an international level ever since they were like young teenagers. So Mazin's a guy that he's kind of got like that old soul just because he's like kind of relate to him a lot,
Yeah.
competing professionally since 16 years old and kind of making it on the big stage. So really, really a big fan of his. And then when you got guys like JZZ, RGL, and FRZ, like these are guys that individually they have a lot of talent. I think they just need a little bit more direction and kind of like hardcore guidance on some things. And I think that's kind of where I come into play,
Mm.
just being able to understand every single role and every single I've had a lot of great teammates in my career where I've been able to pick up like on how they play these kind of role things that are going on now in Valorant. They've always
Sure.
been around in the Counter-Strike days, like your duelist is your opper, your
Mm-hmm.
support guy is kind of like your lurker and this and that. So I think that there's always been ways of kind of relating some of the roles and some of the functions from Counter-Strike to Valorant. And since I've been around such amazing, amazing players throughout my career, I've been able to understand not only how to fine-tune my role, but also how to fine-tune different roles. And I think that that's something that I'm coming in with, that kind of mindset of like, I'm here to help the team create these compositions, create this style of play that we can all benefit from. But more importantly, I want to make sure that the individual is kind of taking their skill level to another level, because I've always been a firm believer that the best you that you can bring to the table is only going to benefit the team.
Mm.
So it's not about just focusing on yourself and not focusing on the team. Obviously, team comes first, but if we can work on ourselves and we can bring a better version of ourselves every day, the team is only going to benefit from that. So I think that that's a big goal of mine, is to work with these guys before and after practice. Uh, Play with them too. Let them know, oh man, still got some aim, and kind of let them know like how to improve themselves from just a professional and playing standpoint. So
Mm.
yeah, that's really been a big focus of mine, and getting to know these guys. And like I said, some guys, like, just getting to know them. So you never know, some guys maybe I got to be hard on one guy, maybe I got to be soft on one
Right.
guy, like
Yeah.
that. So that's probably one of the biggest benefits of me being here, is to get to know these personalities, to understand how I can be with them and how I can get the best out of them,
Mm.
from an individual perspective, but also from a team perspective.
I'm really excited to see how you guys do. Obviously, the Brazilian scene, just in general, right, for a long time is very highly storied. It's very well known that Brazil just makes some cracked out Valorant players, dude. I don't. It's like a factory that they have in there where they're all insane.
Yeah,
Um,
just it's just an FPS powerhouse, to be
it
honest. Like
really is.
Crossfire, CS, Valorant, like Brazil dominates FPS. So for me, this is why I love being a part of the Brazilian scene, because I'm a big what I started playing games like Warcraft and StarCraft 3 when I was a kid,
Sure.
and I was like, what the hell? There's FPS. Like, what is this? I can actually like move my mouse and the crosshair moves. Like, whoa! And I just never looked back. So it's like, for me, I've like dove headfirst into FPS, dropped playing consoles, absolutely love it. I'm like, man, this is. I think a lot of the Brazilians think the same way.
Yeah, there's no turning back. Again, very excited to see how you guys do. It's not long now. We're gonna get through the holidays, and then next thing you know, freaking Americas is starting again. We're gonna see all these rosters and everything debut. And I think on top of that, we're gonna transition over to gameplay, because there have been a lot of changes that just dropped a couple of days ago. I want to get your quick thoughts on those. First and foremost, ISO. He's the new hot guy on the block. Very exciting. He's a lot of fun. Seems like the general consensus is he's going to be a lot of fun and entertaining to play on ranked, but when it comes to pro play, a lot of people seem to think he's not going to have very much impact. My being one of them as well. Do you agree with that take?
Yes and no.
Mm,
I think that you can think of some strategic value that you can kind of get out of that agent for now, that might be able to have some impact that you can't really see in ranked so much, which comes to like coordinated plays.
mm.
Like I've always viewed Viper mollies as like a double damage tick. It's like shock, like a
Sure.
perfectly placed shock, perfectly
Mm,
placed this and that. Like, you're just gonna dominate. So
mm.
when it comes to what ISO can do with his vulnerable ability, like, it goes through walls. I mean, you could really like, it's basically like sticking double damage on someone
Yeah.
wherever and whenever you want. Now, who you play, like, it's kind of Harbor Viper in a way of like, you have to really build comps around
Yeah.
ISO to
Yep.
make him valuable. Same with Gecko. It's really hard to slot these kind of agents in, but
Mm.
man, like, you could do like some of these crazy through the wall vulnerables. You can Sova ult one shot people. Like, in certain situations, I think that comboed correctly,
Mm.
I think ISO could be very dominant. Um, you have situations like his ultimate is kind of bad in the form of like, it's just a one-on-one and there goes your ultimate orbs, but
But.
he can cancel the Viper ult.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say there's 10, 15 seconds left in the round. You know how you basically use a Sova ult to cancel
Yeah.
the plant. Like,
Uh
you could
huh.
do the same thing.
Uh huh.
So I think that you could really like chop off time on the clock.
Mm.
So I think if you kind of think of ISO from a different perspective, not on what he can do individually, but what he can do alongside others, I think people are going to find a lot of value in that. I just think Valorant kind of has this mindset of the duelist should be the agent that you can opt the best with. And for the most part, like, they're always going to find a way to put Jet or Chamber kind of thing in the mix. But
Mm.
I think with the right team, right mentality, I think you could really cook pretty well with ISO. And you could do stuff. You just got to build some comps around him. Maybe they'll fine tune some of his abilities to be a little bit stronger.
Mm.
But ultimately, I think that it's not too bad right now. I mean, I've already seen some crazy stuff like with the little mini shields that you can get when you kill someone, stuff
Right.
like
Yeah.
that. I mean, you could do so much with that. When I've played against an ISO, I haven't really had a problem like, killing the ISO when he
Hmm.
has those kind of shields on. Maybe that's because I'm like a spray and pray kind of player sometimes. They just kind of, blast through the shield, but
Yeah.
perfectly timed, perfectly placed. I mean, he can that one little shield can eat a whole entire Raze ult, for
Yeah.
example. So
Or an
there's
op
just so
shot, or yeah.
much, yeah, there's just so much that can happen. Um, and I think that, the potential of this agent is yet to be unlocked. It's just who's gonna have the balls to really bust it out.
uh,
And yeah, and if they don't do it with the mindset of comboing and different things, it's not gonna be so great. But
mm.
yeah, I think individually, he has the potential.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I expected the first team to debut ISO would be a team like Paper X. I didn't think it would be MIBR, but here we are. This is the
No.
world that we're living in. I do think, though, some of the stuff that you were talking about, I also think removing a site anchor, for example, like if you know that Cypher's playing or whatever, a Cypher's playing on a site, you want to exec, you're removing him from the fight. Yeah, maybe you lose the 1v1. Your team is taking the site while that's happening, whatever. So I do see a lot of value there, which actually kind of takes me to the next point I want to touch on. Cypher. Bro, Cypher's, given these changes, Cypher's a bad dude right now.
Yeah, Cypher's back. Officially, he's back. I mean, I was playing with him the other day, and if I could drop 30 with Cypher, anyone can, right? So I'm like, man, this is different because, like before, you kind of had to play agents like Sova, like force a Sova to break some shocks, or
Mm-hmm.
play
Mm-hmm.
with agents like Yoru or Sky to,
To
use a
break
clone or a
trips, yeah.
dog to break the trip. Doesn't do anything anymore.
Right.
Like if you don't trade the trip, it just replenishes itself. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even in some like scrims and ranked, you get like 3Ks off the same trip.
Which is
uh,
silly.
the round finishes and the trip's still up. So it's like, okay, like if people don't have proper protocols or proper understanding of how to play, because that's one thing that I've always tried to explain to the boys is like
Mm,
we got to understand how to play against different styles of play, but also different types of agents. I think Cypher is exactly one of those agents that if you have to call specifically according to how like to Cypher.
mm,
So um,
mm-hmm.
I think his impact is going to be insane, and if teams don't have proper protocols, it's going to be very difficult to deal with. And I think we're in a very good place now because agents like Killjoy are still very strong. I mean, Deadlock's
Sure.
obviously really terrible, but
Yep.
if they can get
Still.
Deadlock to a playing stage and maybe get Chamber a little bit more fine-tuned, I think that you're going to see a lot of these Sentinels really kick back up. But right now, I think Cypher is officially back. I think you can make so much stuff happen. The length of the trips already made him kind of semi back, and
Yeah.
certain little adaptions now has really brought him to another level that I think that like the game has never seen before because this kind of stuff has never like extending trips automatically just gives you the insight of like, all right, I can make different ones. When it
Right.
comes to like improving the strength of it, we've never felt that before.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that teams are going to be able to exploit that from, especially from a defensive perspective. You're not really going to capitalize off of that on offense too much,
Right.
but or attack. But when it comes to defense, I think people are going to be like, damn, this guy can shut down stuff if we play against teams without proper protocols or proper agents to do stuff. And I think it's going to be very, very impactful.
Well, I mean, even the thought of, so I was just thinking, I hadn't even really thought about the combination of the trips being longer, too. I think about like trying to get out a split B with a really long trip where you can't clear it out and it
Yeah,
doesn't
Breeze,
break.
same thing. The
Yeah.
showers on Bind, like you just really, yeah, you really have to tank the trip in order to break it. That's like
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. Like you just got, like I said, you got to have proper protocols, and
Yeah.
you might have to waste some sort of ability, and even flashes don't necessarily work because
No,
you'll
they
still
don't.
see the silhouette pop
Right.
up. So
Outrageous. Outrageous. Danny, you've been an absolute pleasure. Again, freaking legendary man in the FPS scene. He's been around a long time. It's hard to come across somebody who's been around esports and who's older than I am in the space. So you're a rare one, my brother. Listen, if I may, any parting words that you may have for Brazilian fans, for MIBR fans, for the haters, for anybody out there.
no, just love everybody, man. Love the haters, love the fans, just love everybody, man. There's so much stuff going on in the world today, man, that I
Mm,
think that everyone could use a little bit more love in their hearts and just any of this like anger, frustration, and stuff that we got. I think it's always best to communicate any of these issues that we may have with each other and do it from a place of love. So I just really want to thank everybody for all their support, even the haters, because I
Mm.
understand where they come from. They want to win all the time, and trust me, I do too. So we're like what they say here, estamos junto. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you for giving this opportunity to kind of speak and to
Oh,
have
for
an
sure,
interview.
bro.
So yeah, man, just really looking forward to being a part of the team. Um, Actually, want to give a shout out to my family as well.
Mm.
My wife, she's a little over 6 months pregnant now, so about to have my
Yo,
first kid. Yeah, yeah, and
congratulations, bro.
that was something that I was kind of personally not dealing with or going through, but just something I really had to manage as well.
Yeah.
Not only changing comps and trying to win champs, but trying to make sure my wife was all right and
Morning
our baby's all
sickness
right.
and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So no, and being remote, that's always tough,
Mm,
because I really
mm.
had to travel a lot and all these tournaments pop up. And there for a long time, I think I've spent 10 months out of the house this year. I think
Yeah.
I've been home for like 6 weeks this whole entire year.
Yeah.
So, she's a trooper and just want to give a shout out there.
Mm.
And yeah, really excited. Baby will be born around February, so I will be at the season. I will be there physically, but there might be a little bit of time I've got to take
Yeah.
to kind of get those things done. But I'll be there before and after, and just really looking forward to being a part of the franchise again. Just hoping to continue on this streak of doing well, want to win again Americas, and put on a show for everyone. So really want to thank everyone on Loud for my time there. Really
Mm.
appreciate them so much, especially the organization, the staff, the players, amazing people. And also want to give a shout out to MIBR for this opportunity.
Mm.
Just really grateful for it. Yeah, man, it's been an amazing experience. Everyone's been so hospitable, so kind to me, welcoming me in, and kind of making me that honorary Brazilian. So really happy with everything. Really grateful for everyone, and yeah, man, just nothing but hugs and love and everything for everybody.
I appreciate you ending the show on a positive note, you wholesome son of a gun. Congratulations on the little one coming in. And for those of you who've been hanging out with us for the last 56 minutes or so, listening to two old farts just kind of talk about Valorant and everything that's going on, we appreciate you guys as always. Engage with the channel. If there's anyone else you want to see on the show, drop them in the comments below. That's going to do it for episode I don't really remember of Vandals. We'll see you guys next time.